Welcome to the Goodyear City Council meeting. We're excited to have you be a part of this important public process. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address City Council on both non-agenda and agenda items. The agendas and the speaker request cards are located on the tables outside of council chambers. You must fill out a speaker card in order to address the City Council. Please hand in your completed card to the City Clerk before the start of the meeting. If the meeting has already begun, please hand it to any city staff. You may also check the I do not wish to speak option on the card. This allows you to still voice your opinion on an item on the record without having to speak. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The City Clerk will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and state your name for the record. We ask that you speak clearly into the microphone. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes, and there is a timer visible from the podium. When the light changes from green to yellow, your time is coming to an end. When the light turns red, your time is up. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear City Council meetings stream live on Facebook and YouTube, and online at goodyearaz.gov. Thank you for your participation in tonight's meeting.
I'd like to call the regular meeting to order for January 24th, 2022. Please join Vice Mayor Hampton in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Almighty Lord, for tonight and for those that are gathered here. I thank you for the service that we all attended for Mayor Lord, honoring her and her legacy. Give the council wisdom as we make decisions that affect citizens today and in the future. Be with our military, public safety, and staff as they do their good work as well. Thank you for the many blessings that you have given the city. Help us to be in your will. In your name, amen.
Amen.
Councilmember Stipp will not be with us tonight. May I have a motion and a second to excuse Councilmember Stipp?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Now it's time for citizens who would like to address the City Council on any non-agenda items within the jurisdiction of the Goodyear City Council. Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on a non-agenda item? Seeing none, the council listens to, well, if there isn't any, there isn't any. Will the city clerk please read consent agenda items 1 through 6 by title only?
Number 1, approval of minutes. Number 2, adopt resolution number 2022-2204, approving the modification of assessment number 11 within the McDowell Road Commercial Corridor Improvement District. Number 3, approve the creation of a mid-year CIP project to replace Unit 788, a solid waste rear loader and related budget transfer. Number 4, approve the preliminary plat for Cotton Lane Commerce Park, subject to stipulations. Number 5, adopt resolution number 2022-2206, authorizing the establishment of a public street for a section of Bullard Avenue, providing recordation conditions and an effective date for the establishment of the public street, providing an expiration date and an effective date of resolution number 2022-2206, Also approve the inclusion of the existing city well site located along the east side of Bullard Avenue south of Yuma Road as a tract within the final plat for Air Park Logistics Center, and approve the final plat for Air Park Logistics Center subject to stipulations. Number 6, approved a 7-month extension for paid leave for employees testing positive for COVID-19.
Does anyone on the council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Can I have a motion and a second to approve items 1 through 6?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. There's one public hearing on the agenda tonight. The public hearing is considering a rezoning of approximately 29 acres from Planned Area Development, PAD, to MF 24 with the Estrella Springs and Suncrest Vistas at Canyon Trails, MF 24 with PAD overlay.
Hi, Kristen.
Open the public hearing. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mayor Pizzillo. Hello. There we go. Good evening, Mayor Pizzillo and City Council. My name is Christian Williams, Senior Planner, City of Goodyear. Here with a request from Brian Greathouse for a rezoning of a property within the City of Goodyear. The property is approximately 29 acres and it is located on the southeast corner of Cotton Lane and Van Buren, which will be the future Loop 303. This is adjacent to, again, the Loop 303, south of Van Buren. The property is currently zoned planned area development within the Canyon Trails Phase 1 PAD, and the property is located in this box on my map right here with a star on it. Zooming in a little closer, you can see that the project is located on a parcel within Canyon Trails. The site is largely undeveloped, but is currently being farmed, and it is east of, again, the future Loop 303 heading south, west of a 100-foot wide green belt, which is located in Canyon Trails Unit 3 single-family neighborhood. East of that is obviously the more single-family homes from that community. It is south of a property that is zoned for commercial within Canyon Trails. It is north of the Aviata multifamily project, which was approved a couple months back by y'all. And it is 1/4 of a mile north of Canyon Trails Town Center, mixed use and commercial development. It's also within the neighborhoods or business and commerce district of the city for the land use plan and in a transit orient development overlay. So for a little history on the property, in 1999, which will be that middle map there, the project was zoned as part of Canyon Trails Phase 1 PAD, with the northern approximately 10 acres of this site being zoned for commercial as the underlying land use, and the southern 19 acres of the property being zoned for medium high density residential or court home. Another note I'd like to point out is that in 2005, Canyon Trails grew in its overall commercial underlying land use designations. The 91 acres that we now know of today as Canyon Trails Town Center was rezoned from a mix of commercial, multifamily, townhomes, court homes, and single family to 91 acres of all commercial. For reference, that area used to contain only 22 acres of commercial. 12 of those acres, as you'll recall, 12.7 of those acres, as you'll recall, were rezoned back to multifamily with the Canyon Trails Town Center residences to make that a mixed-use center. So now Canyon Trails has approximately, in the town center, 78 acres of commercial opportunity, and about 300,000 of those acres are vacant and ready to be developed. Today's proposal to rezone 10 of the commercial acres, so the site again is right here. So today's proposal is to rezone 10 of those acres of commercial to MF24 and 19 of the southern acres from medium high density residential to MF24. That will create a senior and family multifamily community. Many of you have previously asked about the loss of commercial in the Canyon Trails area. So excluding the 19 acres up here that ADOT purchased for the 10303 interchange, Canyon Trails, the original 1,800 square foot master plan community contained, 2005. So in 2005, the commercial grew to 247 acres. If today's rezoning is approved, there will still be 194 acres of commercial remaining in Canyon Trails. That's 48 acres more than were originally planned in Canyon Trails back in 1999. And the zoning map highlights some of the history of how Canyon Trails got to where it is today. As it relates to other multifamily in the Goodyear area between McDowell Road on the north, future SR 30 on the south, Perryville on the west, and Bullard on the east, there are, in the orange color, 8 established multifamily communities. One of those is for the baseball team. 5 are traditional garden-style apartments, and 2 are single-family rental. Shown in purple, there are 8 under development or recently completed. 2 are garden-style apartments. 6 are single-family rental product communities. Shown in yellow, there are 18 that currently have some entitlement for a multifamily designation. 8 of those are likely to be single-family rentals or townhouse-style rental communities. 8 are likely to be garden-style, and 2 are part of the original city center, which would likely come back to you all for a rezone. Shown in blue are 4 developments that you may see in the future. The site, again, that we are discussing today is right here with the star in red. And this map is only showing the multifamily zonings, not the thousands of single-family and things of that nature. Now, I want to quickly discuss what is happening along the corridor of Loop 303 as it relates to its access into Goodyear. As currently proposed by ADOT, there will not be a northbound on-ramp to the SR 30 or 303 from Van Buren Street, or a southbound off-ramp from the 303 onto Van Buren Street. So this is facing south on the top of the map. Thus, traffic coming to Goodyear from Interstate 10 will pass over Van Buren Street, and the first exit opportunity they will have is down here at Yuma Road. At the intersection of Yuma Road, there will be a diamond interchange, so there will be access on and off from all directions. At that intersection, there's Canyon Trails Town Center. That's where I call Fancy Target being located. Cotton Flower Marketplace is where the Fun Filiberto's is. And then there's 2 other corners at that intersection that are all zoned for some sort of commercial opportunity. Traffic coming from the south will be able to exit at Van Buren Street or continue on the main line 303 north to gain access to Interstate 10. This map over here, here's our site here. The half diamonds show that there's some limited access constraints on the 303. The full diamonds indicate that there's full access. So I just wanted to give you a picture of what's happening with access on the 303 in Goodyear. So the applicant is requesting the property be rezoned entirely to MF24 Multifamily Residential District with a PAD overlay or Planned Area Development Overlay to facilitate the development of 2 distinct multifamily developments. The standards and requirements in the zoning code, including those applicable to the development within MF24, will apply to this development except as modified by the PAD overlay. And the PAD overlay provides for modifications based on the nature and location of properties and projects within the city. This particular PAD overlay will provide for modifications applicable to the northern 10 acres of the property, which is called the North Zone, and separate modifications for the southern 19 acres of the property known as the South Zone. There are also standards applicable to the entire property found within the document. So again, the property will be developed in 2 parts. The North Zone will be age restricted, and it is going to be known as Crest Vistas. That will be senior housing, and it's considered a type of multifamily development. It is different from assisted living, as all of these units will have kitchens and they're going to be independent living, not assisted living. The Southern Zone will not be age restricted, is open to all ages, and will be known as Estrella Springs. The use of a PAD overlay in this case is justified, as the current development standards within MF24 do not address some of the unique circumstances which are found within this senior and family multifamily project. Although the PAD overlay provides certain reductions in standards, certain reductions are warranted because of the large open space tract to the east, which you don't commonly find adjacent to most multifamily. The PAD overlay also includes provisions that will apply if at some point in the future the parcel is split into 2 separate parcels, such as the setback lines. And I'll discuss those amendments and changes on the next slide, as well as the enhancements that they will be including to make justifications for those requests. So let's just get to the next slide and we'll cover that. All right, so as stated before, MF24 with PAD overlay. The basis for the zoning is the city's MF24 with a maximum density of 24 units per acre. I'll highlight some of the major changes. Starting with height. By right today, in the north area, which is zoned currently underlying commercial today, the heights of buildings can go up to 56 feet in height. This zoning will retain that 56 feet in height, so that the height changes are the same today entitlement-wise. This does not mean that a higher density is allowed across the site with the added height. At the end of the day, this site must balance to 24 units per acre or less. This is planned to be an age-restricted product. So if it is, and this will be very similar if you think of Mira or Sparrow being constructed on Bullerton Interstate 10 or Robeson Reserve. So if they provide, that's for the height in that area. So it's very similar in height to those two projects. Additionally, the south site will be MF24, but retain a 40-foot height like any traditional MF24 product. Moving to setbacks, the site is adjacent to a 100-foot wide greenbelt in Canyon Trails Unit 3, meaning that the nearest single-family home is more than 100 feet away. And due to this large distance between the homes and the multifamily, the proposed eastern building setback is proposed to be measured from a residential lot, not a residential greenbelt, which does not contain any homes. In addition to that, the property will provide a 20-foot minimum landscape buffer on the east side that will be planted with trees off-center for every 20 feet, with every other tree being a 24-inch box tree. This is not typically what you would find in a MF24 development or even a C2 development, so this is an enhancement above and beyond. The developer is also establishing setbacks in the middle of the site in the event that the north and south parcel divides. That'll be 15 feet if they decide to separate those 2 and 2 parcels. For parking in the north, if the project is age restricted and an age restricted covenant is recorded on that site, they may receive reduced parking. There are requirements for they're requesting a requirement for 1 space per 1 bedroom, 1.22 spaces per 2 bedroom, no changes for 3 bedroom, no changes for guest parking. And this is very similar to some of the standards that were approved for Sparrow Mira, again at Bullerton Interstate 10, and also Robeson Reserve over in Pebble Creek. For parking on the south, the property is requesting reduced parking standards as they intend to manage the amount of vehicles that are on site through a lease agreement. They will be submitting with their site plan, this is a requirement of receiving these reduced parking standards, is a parking plan. They are requesting they also provided a pretty in-depth parking study of multifamily in Goodyear. They drove around at night and did counts and looked at other developments in the city, provided that to us. They're requesting 1.1 spaces per 1 bedroom, 1.45 spaces per 2 bedroom, no changes for 3 bedroom, no changes for guest parking. And the overall space per unit calculations requested in this instance are very similar to those that were approved for the district at Civic Square project, under construction right now at Monte Vista and Pebble Creek. However, they are not requesting the tandem parking component of that plan, so the whole your roommate and you playing shuffle in the daytime and the nighttime would not be a factor within this site. In order to receive the reduced parking calculations, again, they'd have to submit a parking plan with their site plan that the city would have to agree to and approve. The parking plan concept for the reduced and modified parking standards is a tool that we've used in many zoning cases, including most recently in the Canyon Trails Town Center residences. We used a parking plan as a part of the zoning in order to get some reductions in parking, as well as the aforementioned district at Civic Square. They also need to provide a minimum, and the whole intent of that is that it's going to provide certainty to the city that parking will be effectively managed and maintained on their site. Additionally, across the entire north and south, they must have a minimum of 716 parking spaces that will be provided. And with the parking reductions, their intent is to provide more amenitized open space, and that will be codified within the zoning. We'll touch on that in the next slide soon. Finally, for outdoor private space, the developer is requesting a reduction in the patio depths and size. They're looking for a 1-foot reduction down to 5 feet in depth. This is similar in nature to the recently approved Canyon Trails Town Center residences, which we just approved. And for total patio size, the south area, they're requesting balcony minimums of 50 square feet on the ground floor units and of the senior section, the upper floor balcony is at 58 square feet, and MF24 standards typically call for 60 square feet. For the northern area, they're requesting 55 square feet for balconies and no changes for the ground floor patios. And although the private open space requirements are slightly smaller than what is required in MF24, they're offsetting that with other enhancements and amenities, and we're going to talk about those right now. So some of those offsets are as follows. Open space, the developer is going to provide a minimum of 500 square feet of recreational open space per unit. That is 25% greater than the minimum in MF24. They will also ensure that 40% of the open space is active and includes recreational amenities such as trails, turf, parking, gathering areas, not just fields of rocks. In the north zone, the amenities will include an 8,000 square foot clubhouse, a 2,000 square foot fitness space and library, a salon, a central courtyard, and gaming areas like bocce ball, cornhole, things of that nature. They will provide a covered porte-cochere entry at that site, a resort-style pool and hot tub, a sun deck, a dining ramada, picnic and grill areas, and there will be a dog park. So that's the north. In the south, the amenities will include a 6,000 square foot clubhouse, a 4,000 square foot clubhouse, 2 covered tot lots, including a playground, a turfed play field, a resort-style pool and hot tub, a sun deck, a dining ramada, picnic areas, grills areas, and dog areas. And the developer has codified many minimum interior standards such as private balconies, hardwood style flooring, gourmet kitchens, walk-in closets, things of that nature in the zoning. That's not typical multifamily, but they've decided to codify it in the zoning to ensure that it's quality. The development will also include publicly facing art, which will be approved with the site plan. I know that's a goal of yours. You want to see more public art. They've committed to that in the zoning. And as it relates to architecture and color of the buildings, the development will incorporate a series of 4 color schemes with 4 colors per scheme throughout the development's overall master plan. 3 of the color schemes will be dispersed throughout the southern site, and one of those color schemes will be the northern senior building. All 4 of these color groupings shall have at least 1 color, if not more, that are consistent with the color schemes in the surrounding neighborhood. So I know they've looked at the Canyon Trails Unit 3 color palettes and things of that so they can be cohesive with that neighborhood. Each scheme will contain a minimum of 2 distinct colors, so not just grays, tans, and tans, actually having some color on the buildings. They'll have brick, stone, or similar material will be provided on all buildings. And the colors in the north zone and south zone will have some commonality so that it feels cohesive. The development will also have language about diversified roof lines, different types of roof lines. So again, when you're driving on the future 303, it's not a sea of the same roof line. So they are going to commit to that, and different horizontal and vertical elements. If walls or fences are constructed around the site, and adjacent to the Canyon Trails Greenbelt, they will be view fencing consisting of a minimum of 2 feet of wrought iron view on top, except where there's garbage enclosures or things of that nature, utility boxes. And they will also have to be cohesive with the existing Canyon Trails community. As you're also aware, the existing Canyon Trails zoning has provisions for a Greenbelt trail along Cotton Lane. That trail will ultimately go from Lower Buckeye on the south up to RID on the north. This developer will be constructing that Cotton Lane Canyon Trails Greenbelt, 30 feet wide landscape setback off of Cotton Lane frontage. They'll ensure the trail is built. The trail will be 8 feet wide and include at least 1 shaded seating area and then connections into the development. And a big item I really do want to touch on, this is a picture I took of the Canyon Trails Unit 3 Greenbelt about 14 days ago. That green belt is no longer really green. It's pretty dried up. The HOA had some irrigation failures in there, and it's likely going to be pretty costly for them to repair that. This developer's met with the HOA and is committed to working with them to do work and re-landscape that and make that, again, a space that has some active amenities and things of that nature in there. That's codified in the zoning. So that's what that image portrays. To date, the city has received 5 letters of support for the rezoning. And this was at P&Z when I published this. Those letters came from the Canyon Trails Unit 3 Homeowners Association, the Arizona Housing Coalition, Western Alliance Bank, Westmark, and UPS. I've not received any opposition letters. And then since that time, we received 5 additional letters of support. Those letters came from Ability 360, the Cotton Lane 660, that's the landowner of the remnant parcels of Canyon Trails, Skyway Church, Avondale Baptist Church, the West Valley Arts Coalition, or Arts Council. And of note, in their letter, it is noted that this development intends to pay for the commissioning of the public art that will be in their development. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted to recommend the approval of this. 5 members voted to approve. 1 dropped off the call, so that was recorded as an abstention. And staff has evaluated the impacts of this proposed zoning to the greater community with no major concerns being found. Staff recommends you approve the rezoning, which will rezone this property from planned area development with an underlying land use designation of commercial and medium high density residential to MF24. And that will be with the Estrella Springs at Crest Vista at Canyon Trails PAD overlay. Here for any questions if you have them.
Is the applicant here?
They are, and they can speak if you have some questions.
Yeah, would you like to speak?
Ed Wall, 1850 North Central. I would like to speak only if you need to hear from me. I agree with everything Christian said, and we appreciate the recommendations so far.
Okay, hold that thought. Are there any speaker cards?
Yes, Mayor, I do have one speaker card from William Miller, but he said he is in support of the staff recommendation, but only wishes to speak if necessary.
Not necessary, unless you want to speak. No, here, no? All right, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Will the city clerk please read the resolution 2022-2199 by title only?
Adopt resolution number 2022-2199, declaring as public records of certain documents filed with the city clerk entitled Official Supplementary Zoning Map number 21-08 and legal description and Estrella Springs and Suncrest Vista at Canyon Trails Development Regulations MF24 with pad overlay, November 2021.
Can I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2022-2199?
So moved. Second.
Got it. All right, with that, open for council discussion. Let's start over here on the left side. Councilmember Campbell, you have anything?
Yes, thank you. Christian, you can answer all of these. Mr. Bull doesn't have to answer these.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know what slide number it is.
Oh, yep, I can get there for you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I just want to verify that there will be a frontage road built or used so that the residents at that site can get around that.
So the current ADOT plans do show a frontage road that goes northbound. The development at the site plan process will have to work with ADOT on how and if they can get access to it.
All right, I understand that because, you know, we don't have a lot of frontage roads.
Yep.
So we're finally building them and we need them to move the traffic. Okay, my next question is, you said there were 716 parking spaces total.
At a minimum.
At a minimum for both
North
and
south.
south.
Correct.
And in that will be for the public and for the residents.
For the
correct?
residents and their guests.
Perfect, okay. And there's going to be 2 separate pools,
Yes.
2 separate clubhouses.
Yes.
No 3 shades of brown.
Not just 3 shades of brown. They have to have a distinct color. Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
I know,
Okay.
but we heard you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, and I know that they are offering the 24-inch box trees, which is unusual. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
every
not
other one.
required, and that's absolutely wonderful. So you said that there would be 194 acres left for commercial to be developed.
Correct.
If we zone this, can you show us on that map where that commercial would be located? Do you know
Sure.
where that is?
Sure. And I can tell you that some of that commercial is currently developed, but it's 194 acres total. So
Well, that's fine, yeah. I knew
correct.
some of it was developed. I just wanted to know.
Perfect. So Canyon Trails Town Center obviously is the big one. That's Target.
Right,
There's a vacant corner at Citrus and Yuma, currently underlined zoning commercial.
okay.
North of this site, there is commercial. I will tell you, they have submitted a pre-application for something other than commercial, but today it is zone commercial.
Okay,
There is Canyon Trails Plaza, Phase 1 and 2. So that is Safeway, that awesome taco place in there, a couple
Yeah.
of those areas right there.
okay. Well, I just want
And
to
then
assure
DeRozier.
the residents that there is land still available that can be developed for commercial should someone approach us to build something.
Absolutely,
Other
and that's
than,
just in Canyon Trails.
Right,
That doesn't
just
count
in-
cotton flower
Right,
and all those other
right.
areas.
Okay, thank you very much. This sounds very exciting.
Councilmember Loretano?
Councilmember Campbell got a lot of my questions already. Sorry. No, that's good. That's good. So I did have one other question. Are these gated? Are they open or?
That's not stipulated within the zoning, so that'd be up to the applicant at the site
Okay.
plan process.
And is there a way to drive from one property to the other, or are they going to be totally separate?
That's up to them when we get to the
Okay.
site plan process. Nothing dictates that they have to be separate or not.
Okay, so that's still farther ahead. I'm very excited. I think pointing out a lot of the amenities. I like the fact that there's going to be brick or stone or something to break up the colors and the roof lines and stuff. So I think that's a really good amenity. And I can see, as you put that up there, it's not going to be an easy place to get off the freeway. So I think it's a good spot for this. So I do appreciate it. I really do like the idea for having the senior community there. So we don't have a senior community in that area, do we?
Not really. There's like two that I can think of.
Yeah.
Big ones, Robeson and Mira, that's under construction.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Vice Mayor Hampton?
All right, I had a couple questions. So what's that first question is, thank you for the presentation, but first question, what's that top red on that? Is that,
That is
Wedge.
north of the RID, and there's like retention and things of that nature. It's the interchange of 303 and 10. So it's behind, it's called Glen River, the neighborhood that's there,
okay,
right by the interchange.
okay, just verifying.
It's been gobbled up by freeway and ADOT though.
Okay, I was just clarifying what that really was. Okay, and then the question I have is, if you go to how it sits in the area. So really, I've already brought this up with the developer, but I just wanted to bring it up with all councils here. So in relation to Van Buren, so I understand, is this a right out only? Or can I take a left turn here so close
Yes,
to ADOT?
if this was to be the site plan that went forward, staff would like to be right out, right in. And then it looks like they would work to negotiate some access with ADOT to the frontage road.
To get right out? To get,
So
I
then
mean,
they can do
obviously.
the turns.
Okay, and I was just curious, so I'm just thinking how it fits in the community. If I live there, how I get to the places I want to get to. So is it set up, can there be a light that close? And is there enough people to justify a light that close?
We would not look at putting a light there. If, let's say you wanted to go to Target, well, one, there's a great Greenbelt trail and it's 1/4 of a mile south.
You
so
could walk,
hopefully some people
yeah.
could walk there, right? 2 Greenbelts, actually. If they negotiate access with ADOT, you could go onto the frontage road, do a left turn, go right down to Yuma,
Yeah, that would be yeah.
or right out, U-turn, hop back on, frontage south.
Yeah, the U-turn is what I was curious about, because I drive that road every day taking my kids to school.
Yep.
So I'm just curious what the U-turn would feel like. I doubt not everybody's going to leave the same exact time making U-turns, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious if we're set up for the traffic study to handle that if they can't get access
Correct.
to their frontage road.
Those final details will all be nailed down at site plan when we go into a deeper analysis and how the traffic flows, because we'll know exactly where the access points will be.
And especially if the north part of that, which you said there's already an app for potential another multifamily, and if they're doing right out only as well, and what the U-turn, what it's going to look like with them so
They
close
would
to each
go,
other.
if that, let's say that developed as anything and that was right out, now they're sitting at the freeway to make a left turn to go southbound.
Yeah. So, okay, I was understanding the feel of when I'm in the neighborhood and what it's going to look like. And it looks like they have a shared access as of right now. And you said there's a 15-foot barrier between the two, north and south, in case they wanted to separate
what
it?
this means is if they happen to split the parcel line, it's a 15-foot building setback, meaning on each side, so 15 feet of landscaping or parking, non-buildings on the north side of that line, 15 feet of non-buildings, landscaping, parking on the south side.
And then the Greenbelt, you said they're adding more path, or are they going to use the Canyon Trails existing
So
and
the
tie into it?
existing Canyon Trails Greenbelt, they're going to landscape that, working with the HOA.
Yeah.
The west one, wherever the ADOT line is, they're going to leave 30 feet of landscaping
On the
there
west
and then
side.
put the trail in, so that ultimately that target trail is going to keep going through Aviata and then to this development.
Tie in.
Yep, and it'll
So
tie in.
they hope to hug the the other road, the access road, you're
Yes.
saying, and that they hope will connect all the way to Target.
Yes, it'll act as a buffer between the buildings in that development, landscape buffer, and then that Target trail. Once you cross Canyon Trails Boulevard,
Yeah.
you'll be able to continue that route north through Aviata to this, hit
Okay.
Van Buren Street, and then cross at that signal, and then continue north.
So both there'll be 2 trails on either side. You can go through the wash or the Canyon Trails amenity or through the new trail.
You got it.
Okay. Okay. I was just biking. I bike through there pretty often with my whole family. So I'm just
I can do a
curious.
loop.
Yeah, I just go around. So, okay, I'm just curious what that looked like as well. And the parking, I'm just curious. I know we already approved it with the seniors at the other locations. I mean, I'm sure there's been studies done. I'm just curious if I'm a married senior and I have a 1-bedroom, I only get one parking space.
So what that means, it's not that one unit necessarily only gets one parking space. It's basically factoring that across all the units, X amount or reserve. Like, so there might be some that don't have cars at all. There might be some that have 2 cars. It's balancing as an average. So then on their site, they could manage that. From a zoning perspective, we're just designating that on average, you're going to have a minimum of these per unit. That gives you a bucket of parking now that you need to allocate.
I'm just trying to think what it's going to feel like to live there. Like I'm saying, I want to be able to park in a parking spot if I live there and I have 2 cars, for example. I just want to make sure that's attainable.
Yeah.
Because we're taking it down for seniors versus the family. I understand family, you might have a kid or someone else driving as well, but just trying to understand what it feels like to make sure it's adequate.
Yeah. And the onus now is on the developer from a zoning standpoint because they have to manage it. If they're agreeing that they want that reduced parking, that means they have to manage it.
Okay, and I'm going to steal Councilwoman Lauritano's as well. Is there electric vehicle set up for this area too?
That's not in the
We're
zoning.
not all gonna buy electric vehicles from, I tell you.
So I'm just curious so it's not in the zoning
Correct.
that they can have that they should have it set up or prepare for it or
Correct.
tear it all out if they need to put electric vehicles. So
Typical MF24 standards as it relates to that.
okay, so it does not bring that up.
Doesn't mean they can't do it, but it
Yeah.
doesn't mean they have to do it.
Okay, and then sorry, I have a lot of questions.
That's
so
okay.
just want clarification. Commercial entrance. Okay, I think that's it. I appreciate the extra amenities, especially up against the Canyon Trails existing neighborhood as well. Appreciate the art, the enhancements. I mean, it seems like it's going to be a great location. There's a lot of extras here that our other apartments don't have. So, so I think it'll be a good fit in the community. Just like I said, just how it fits in there with the parking and also the traffic flows of that area, because there's going to be obviously there's going to be a lot of multifamily along that general corridor, and just how it's going to feel for everybody. Or if people are just going to take the right-hand turn and go through Canyon Trails down and then get to Target that way, or I don't know, just trying to foresee what that might look like in the future. So, but I think overall, I think it's a good project. So I support it. So, thank you.
Councilmember Kano?
Thank you, Christian, for such a comprehensive presentation. This, the transition of so much commercial property into multifamily has been an adjustment, but I understand with the change with the Loop 303 and the difficulties that it has. I think that this is a good project for this area. I appreciate the extra effort that they've gone to for the amenities, the art, and working to be a good neighbor with the Canyon Trails. So I'm also in support of this.
Yeah, I also think great presentation there. My focus is always when you actually come to the facades and the different colors, like Councilmember Campbell has mentioned, not 5 shades of brown, or kind of lighten on the grays also, if you would, please. Maybe some stone, faux stone, or whatever the case may be, but kind of break it up along there. But I appreciate the detail that's in there, and I think it's a perfect fit for that location. And thank you for your presentation. With that, let's see. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Will the city clerk please read ordinance number 2022-1522 by title only?
Adopt ordinance number 2022-1522, conditionally rezoning approximately 29 acres of property located at the southeast corner of Cotton Lane and Van Buren Street to be known as Estrella Springs and Crest Vista at Canyon Trails, amending the zoning map of the city of Goodyear, providing for non-abridgment, providing for corrections, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and providing for penalties, and directing the city clerk to record a copy of this ordinance.
Can I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 2022-1522?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Now we move to business. I would like to remind council to wait for a motion and a second before discussion. First item on business is the Bullard Avenue widening project and associated budget transfer.
Okay.
When you come up, please introduce yourself for the audience.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Sumit Mohan. I am the Director of Engineering. And can you hear me okay? I'm here to request your approval for the Bullard Avenue widening project and the associated budget transfers. In the past, we improved our infrastructure under the old philosophy of mostly using growth pays for growth. That ended up leaving some gaps in our infrastructure, also known as scalloped streets. And we received some direction from the council that we should do something about removing this scalloping and make the streets safe and reduce congestion. So we have taken all your directive to heart, and as a result, we have come up with a long list of projects which you will see in a very detailed fashion at a work session on March 21st. But for now, I want to just introduce to you the first project, which has been very hot on our radar, which is for the Bullard Avenue. Right now, about 600 feet of frontage on Bullard Avenue, just south of Van Buren, is unimproved, only one lane going south. And with all the employees who are now coming to all the facilities in the area, we are feeling the pressure. As a result, we are now going to utilize Chapter 24 of our ordinances, which is the cost recovery ordinance, which we have not used much in the past at all, but we have dusted it off, and we are going to use it for, with your permission, for this particular widening project. About 600 feet of frontage is what we will improve to full alignment, ultimate improvement, which we would expect any developer to construct in the future. Since there is no developer on site at this time, we would do the improvements and set up the cost recovery so that the developers, when they come in the future, then they pay their fair share of what we are improving on their behalf. And you will recall that this is a part of the Bullard Tech Corridor, although that is a separate project, so I wouldn't mix apples and oranges, but just FYI, that we will be buying a 125-foot by 125-foot triangle for the enhanced Bullard landscaping, where we would just do the land acquisition, because right now we don't have a plan to construct a monument at this time. We would just save it for the future plans. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Would anybody in the audience like to speak? Seeing none, can I have a motion and a second to approve the creation of the Bullard Avenue widening project and associated budget transfer?
So moved.
Second.
Got it. Open for council discussion. Who do we want to start? Over here on the, anything over here on the right?
Charles. No, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for bringing it to us. I'm looking forward to that meeting where we talk about moving our traffic study forward and a lot of the projects that we need to do. As the second fastest growing city in Arizona, the ninth fastest growing city in the nation, we definitely need to be more proactive on our roads and streets with all the huge amount of growth that we have coming. So looking forward to that presentation, because we definitely need a lot of roads. We have a lot more people. So just widening those and getting our residents conveniently around town is very important. So thank you.
Over here on the left, Councilmember Campbell.
Thank you for bringing this forward, Sumit. I know how critical that corner is, and I know how difficult it's been for all of the folks that are using that to go up to their jobs, up to Amazon, on down the road, and we've had a lot of complaints about that, and I appreciate y'all looking and finding the Chapter 24 that we can get the reimbursement, and it's just the smart thing to do. So thank you, and I'm sure it's going to help that traffic flow immensely.
That is correct.
Thank you.
You're good. I appreciate the city stepping up and dealing with that issue. That traffic's getting busier and busier, and we're going to get reimbursement. The developer brings that piece in. Is that correct? Yeah. So I really look forward to the other pieces that you're going to bring to us in March to see how we can also improve traffic flow throughout the city. With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next item on business is requiring approval of to submit an application for the staffing of adequate fire and emergency response, the SAFR grant. Please introduce yourself for the public.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Paul Louisi, Fire Chief. Tonight we'll just be taking you through the SAFR grant. First we'll do an overview of that, and then talk about the funding for additional firefighters in Mobile, and then obviously we'd be available for any questions. So this grant, you've seen this before. This is a federal grant that does provide funding for full-time firefighters. And obviously it pays for those operational positions. So it's only new full-time firefighters. So it covers their salaries and their benefits, and then in any of their FLSA overtime, like we talked about in December. This is a reimbursable grant, so Good Joe would expend the funds, and then we get the reimbursement from the federal government. So there is no city match that is required in this, as it was previously last year when we asked for permission to apply for the SAFR grant. So you get 100% of the salary and benefits are covered for up to 36 months. There are some ineligible costs, so administrative costs, such as like medicals, physicals, the background checks, et cetera. And then the cost to train the firefighters or equip them is not covered under this grant. So as I stated before, 100% is guaranteed for the 36 months. So one of the things that I did want to talk about real quickly is just the reason for the staffing in Mobile, and then we'll get into the timelines. So since 2007, we have been staffing Fire Station 187 in Mobile. It is a very rural, as you know, and isolated area, so it's difficult to get to. Initially, we did have 4-person staffing down there, and then when the recession hit, we ended up going back to a 2-person staffing model. And it's been that way since about 2010. So we have a captain and a firefighter. There's one medic, one EMT that are assigned to a brush truck. And they respond to the community of Mobile, as well as automatic aid requests into Maricopa and also into the county areas. And recently in August, we talked about some of the fire department operations and some of the call volumes that is down there. So the call volume, as we know, is not very significant. What is significant is the types of calls that they're getting down there. We're seeing more, unfortunately, tragic calls that are occurring down there, and those calls are very resource intensive. So with 2 firefighters and without help for upwards of 20 minutes, it gets very labor intensive for 2 firefighters to have to deal with that. So this opportunity, this SAFR grant, would allow us the 4-person staffing for each of the shifts down there, which certainly would help with those labor-intensive calls. So from a timeline perspective, it's pretty quick. The application deadline is February 4th, so staff has been well underway already working on this. We would understand that the first round of awards would be announced sometime in April, and then the last rounds would be anywhere between August and September. It's hard to always pin that down. Even in the last grant period, it got delayed several months. So all of a sudden, the awards came out pretty fast towards the end of the time frame. So we would understand that we would have a recruitment period between August and December, and then our goal would be to get them into the academy for January. So we do know and have confirmed that there is an academy that we would be able to send them to if we are awarded this grant. So we do have a default, what they call a recruitment period. It's 180 days. So after the award, you just cannot pick anybody or select anyone for those positions prior to the award of the grant. So we could not have an established list that we could pull from. So the recruitment timeframe has to happen after the award occurs. And then obviously we get that money for 36 months. There's no extensions for that at all. So that is an important piece to remember. And these are some of the conditions as part of the grant that we have to review with you. Is the staffing levels must be maintained during the time of the award in addition to the safer funded positions. So it applies to all 36 months of the grant period of the performance. Must take active and timely steps to backfill any openings, which we always do. And then obviously, as I'm stating this tonight, you guys need to be aware of all the staffing requirements. If we're not successful, what we would do is, I know it says July, that would anticipate a successful budget process. But the July 2022, if it was not successful, we would request it as a supplemental to the budget process starting in July of 2022. And then we would start in September with the recruitment, and again, trying to get them into the academy in January. Once they graduate in the spring, we would start staffing at Fire Station 187. So tonight what we're asking for is for you to authorize the city manager to execute all documents relating to the application and then any necessary agreements and or budgets transfers that need to occur after that. So I'm available for any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak? Seeing none, will the city clerk please read resolution number 2022-2205 by title only?
Adopt resolution number 2022-2205, authorizing the submission of an application for the Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response SAFER program funds to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, authorizing the city manager to execute all documents relating to said application, and authorizing the city manager to execute a grant agreement if the grant funds are awarded, and authorizing the city manager to approve the required budget transfer if the grant funds are awarded.
Can I have a motion in a second for the resolution 2022-2205?
So moved.
Second.
You got him? Open for council discussion. Who wants to be first up?
Well, I've got a question. You want to do them first? So that
No,
I
that's
don't
all right.
answer?
You can go. Councilmember Campbell?
Chief, thank you very much. We are familiar with this grant, and we
Yes.
hope that we're successful. And I think because of how we're approaching it with the Mobile situation, we may have a good shot at it.
Yeah.
My question is just a personal question. Does your department write your own grants?
Yes.
Good, so you know how to phrase whatever you need to do.
Yes,
Okay.
and then we actually are using some outside support. Doesn't cost us anything to review the grant as
Perfect.
well.
Great.
And then the finance director has also assisted us in this grant writing as well.
Okay, great. So the money for the SAFER grant can't be used for administrative purposes,
Correct.
which simply means their background check or their medical.
Physicals.
What about the academy training?
No,
We pay for all of
We
that.
pay for that,
Okay.
yep.
And then the 36 months, does that include, does that time frame start? And then we do our recruitment. So the recruitment's 180 days of that, right? And then we have the academy?
No, so what would happen is they give you the 180 days to find your personnel that you need. And in this one, we would actually be asking for 8 firefighters, so a little less than the last one we would be asking for. But you have that 180 days essentially free to find your firefighters.
Good.
And then once you ask for the money, when that first dollar hits is when the 36 months, when that clock starts.
And we ask for that money when we have them trained, ready to go?
We would ask when we're ready to bring them on as an employee.
Okay.
So the first day of GO is when we would ask for that money.
Okay, well, I hope we're successful because I think this is wonderful, especially since it's not a match.
Yeah.
And it's different than the other Saver grants that we have applied for. So
Correct.
hopefully that we have a good shot at it.
Yeah, and the last time we found out that there were 1,300 applications that we were competing against.
Wow.
And $2 billion in asks for
goodness.
I think it was 500 million total that was available. So
Oh, my goodness.
quite a bit.
All right, well, thank
Yeah.
you very much for bringing it forward.
Sure.
Go ahead, Councilmember Loretano.
Thank you very much for bringing this forward. I think that's really needed in Mobile. Question, when we do, since we only have 2 people on the truck there, how do you handle right now the whole ambulance situation and paramedics down there when Mobile?
So with the 2 people, Maricopa's down there with an ambulance. So they work in concert with the private transport provider for any transports that do go to the hospital.
So the 4 people would be the we would be then the same as our city standard of 4 people up here per truck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
And I think I understood that the clock doesn't start until we start employment.
Employ them. Yes.
So realistically, that could be spring of 23.
Well, our goal would be to get them into the academy in January.
Uh-huh.
So, typically we try to start them a couple weeks prior to the academy starts. So, yeah,
Their
we would
employees
probably
that
ask for the
time.
money
Okay.
sometime in December or early January, yes.
That's what I wasn't sure. I weren't sure they were considered an employee after they finish the academy or before?
No, before. Yeah,
Okay.
before. Yep.
So that's 23 is when it starts, probably most
Yep.
likely. Okay.
More than likely.
No, I think this is a good plan. If we don't get the full amount, could they award like 3 or 4? Is it all or nothing?
Yeah, it's what you're requesting. Yeah, they won't do partial. Yeah, we've asked that in the past if they'll do partial funding, and they won't. It's either all or nothing.
Okay, let's go for all. Thank you
Yeah.
very much for bringing this forward.
Councilmember Vice Mayor.
No, I think it's a great program, so thank you for pursuing it. Hopefully we get it. So thank you.
Councilmember Kano.
I'm also glad that we're pursuing this. I was wondering if we're going to upgrade the equipment from a brush truck to something more substantial, but that would be separate from the grant, correct?
Yes, that would come through as a budget request. Although we do feel like as part of the vehicle replacement fund, we're going to be able to get that vehicle done through that program. So.
Okay, thank you.
You good? I know firsthand how a 4-member team works well when there's a medical issue. In fact, we had a call on them again last night, and your guys did excellent work. Tell them thank you on my behalf.
I will.
With that, all in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
The next item on business was use permit for convenience use for the Bikini Beans drive-through coffee shop. This item is being removed for tonight's agenda and will be scheduled for a future meeting.
No.
Does the council have any comments, commendations, or reports, or current events or requests for future items?
Mayor, if I may take a moment. I was with Mayor Lord's family the last couple of days, and they have asked me on their behalf to personally thank Chief Luigi and his entire staff and Chief Rodriguez and his entire staff for the courtesy and the compassionate care that they gave the entire family and our mayor in the preceding months before she passed away. They felt that at the memorial, which was beautiful, and they wanted to thank anyone that had anything to do with it at all, that it was beautifully done, and they were very appreciative of it. but they heard that, or Kim said she thanked everyone who had anything to do with the service, but they didn't have an opportunity to personally thank police and fire because you did your job so quietly and efficiently, and before they realized it, everyone had left. But they just wanted to let you know how much they deeply appreciate it. And they felt that while the outcome wasn't exactly what they wanted, they felt that they've made all these new friends here in Goodyear, and they now have a Goodyear family, and they thank everyone.
Councilmember Loretano. Councilmember Kano. Does the city manager have anything to report?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to echo those sentiments and share my great appreciation for the Goodyear team, everyone from Wynette Reed and Resolva in the city manager's office through public safety, but Parks and Recreation and Guyleen and Brenna and their team. Just truly a glorious tribute to a beautiful woman, and the care and attention that the staff gave to every detail to make that as beautiful as it was. It's a tribute to our staff as well. And so I wanted to publicly thank them.
Thank you. The next meeting will be a work session on January 31st, beginning at 5 p.m. We're going to go right into special meeting. No further business to discuss. This meeting's adjourned. I'd like to call a special meeting to order for January 24th, 2022. Councilmember Stipp will not be with us tonight. Can I have a motion and a second to excuse him?
So move.
You got that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. A vote may be held to call an executive session for the following. Pursuant to ARS 38-431.03, A, 3, 4, and 7, consultation with the city attorney and city manager received legal advice and update regarding options for the possible acquisition of real estate for a public use generally located near the intersection of Bullard Avenue and Lower Buckeye Road, and to consider its position and instruct its attorney regarding the public body's position regarding contracts and are subject to negotiations and pending or contemplate litigation or in settlement discussions conducted in order to avoid or resolve litigation regarding the subject properly. Would like a motion and a second to go into executive session. Got it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. With that, now convene into executive session.